journey through Sussex and Kent follows one of the dozens of rural rides that William Cobbett made around the country, chronicling the changing face of the English countryside. Cobbett was an agitator whose opinions so angered the establishment that he was sent to Newgate jail. But did that shut him up? What do you think?
He was very much in favour of the small man. He despised those who didn't work. He despised those who got their money out of rents in the countryside and spent the money in London, because he felt that this wasn't the natural place for his fellow humans. He felt the natural habitat of the human race was in the countryside.
Riding horses in the country and hanging around pubs may not look much like work, dead right, but you do get to meet people like MP Sir Richard Boddy, who has fought the fight of the small man and stirred up more than his fair share of trouble in the countryside. It turns out that for Sir Richard, old Cobbett is a bit of a role model.
But Cobbett felt strongly about certain issues, and I agree, I feel strongly about certain issues, and I wouldn't have written those 4 books about agriculture and stuck my neck out on it, and made myself extremely unpopular with so many of my constituents, and threatened with deselection and goodness knows what else, unless I felt very strongly about it. I think this country would be a happier country if we were to lead the kind of life that he advocated, and understand what he was getting at, that power can be intoxicating. It is very bad for a few people to have a lot of power over many people, and he did believe in all of us having power over our own lives as much as possible.
Cobbett set out to find out why the people who lived and worked in the countryside had become so poor. He decided that it was the fault of the fat cats in the cities who were reaping the riches of the land at the expense of those who did the actual work. The last 30 years would have driven him apoplectic.
We've got the Common Agricultural Policy, which is doing all the things that William Cobbett railed against.
So he'd have hated the Common Agricultural Policy much the way you hate it.
With a deep hatred, because with the Common Agricultural Policy we've been seeing many, many thousands of farmers forced off the land. We've lost roughly 2/3 of our farmers in the last 30 years. And Cobbett would have despaired at this. He would have got very angry about this.
Do you think you would have liked William Cobbett?
Oh yes, I think he was a great man, and he'd been extremely interesting man to meet, a very exhilarating man. Of course he was a sanguine-minded old writer, and he wouldn't have got many words in, but it would have been very interesting.
Cobbett was no great friend of the aristocracy. He regarded them as parasites who let their workers starve while the fruits of their labour was sent up to London. Although he was prepared to give credit where credit was due, and was actually rather complimentary about Lord Abergavenny, who at the time owned much of the land around here. In fact, he still does. Some things never change, do they?